The Class 185 is a familiar sight for passengers in the north of England, and 2026 will mark 20 years since they entered service on Trans Pennine services. Capable of 100 miles per hour running, very powerful diesel engines, and used principally from Liverpool or Manchester to Huddersfield and Leeds, Sheffield, and further on to the east and northeast of England. The Train Sim Classic version was made a few years back now by Imbue Studios in collaboration with Alan Thomson Simulation, and features a detailed model, accurate sounds and announcements, although it would be good if we could see an enhanced version of the announcement system to cover some of the other routes available now. In this scenario, made by Barry Price and available on the ATS website, we'll take a stopping service from Huddersfield to Manchester Piccadilly using Pennine Pacer's Manchester Station's route to Huddersfield. Basically, it's as it is. I was going to swap out Manchester Piccadilly, but the newer model from Just Trains just doesn't quite fit in with the track layout. So welcome to Huddersfield, and it's going to be a little bit of a two-part video because we're going to take the Class 185, the ATS Imbue Class 185 from Huddersfield on a stopping service to Manchester Piccadilly, and then we're going to do the return leg, but we're going to do that in a Class 68 and the representation of the Mark 5 stock. So let's unpause the game to begin with, and let's get the train set up. So it needs a little bit more work than you might do normally on some stock. So we'll put it into forward. AWS off. So I'm going to do the GMSR. Now it's a little bit, the sun being cast down on it slightly, but luckily I know hopefully what I'm typing in. Mike 62, and I think it's 764 the signal. So that's that, and then we need to put the route number in as well. So I believe this is 9289 for Manchester Piccadilly. I've swapped out the original 185 that was allocated for this scenario by Barry Price so that we got the announcements in, and I've got the announcement plug-in as well, so hopefully that should say Manchester Piccadilly in a second. There we go. And then another thing that I kind of often forget as well, thinking why can't I get the train moving, and of course you have to acknowledge the configuration as well, so little backspace there and then number 1, and then we should get a tick in the box as it were, and hopefully when we open the doors, and might as well get the headlights in place and everything just for good measure. So when we open the doors, we should hopefully hear the announcements.
Welcome to Trans Pennine Express. This is a service to Manchester Piccadilly, calling at Slough, Marsden, Greenfield, Mosley, Staley Bridge, and Manchester Piccadilly.
So we're due off very shortly, 7:53, and this is the ATS model. Very nice it is too. And I just thought it's an absolute age. In fact, I'm not even sure I've actually done a video that includes this unit, so I was kind of wanting to do that. We'll check the signal in a moment because it's right by our side. You kind of can't get the view with that close to it. But I think because of that changing down there, I think we might have we might have got the road. Well, let's just check with camera 8. You get that kind of weird. There we are. We've got a green signal. So hopefully, let's make sure we got that switched off. We should be about good to go. You can't always guarantee. Sometimes you might find you have to reset the brakes occasionally, but it looks as though we're okay. I wanted to do a service with announcements, and I think it's great the fact that the pack includes announcements. The only disappointing factor is the fact that it's not been upgraded, and to be honest with you, I was going to start off, my thought was to do a Liverpool to Leeds service on the merged route, but as far as I know, I certainly couldn't get it to work anyway. I don't think the pack's been updated to include that route, which is a shame because the merge is quite decent in its own right and it's been out for some time now. But so I thought I'd give this Pennine Pacers route, Manchester Stations to Huddersfield route, which is freeware. It's definitely on ATS, Alan Thomson Simulation. Not 100% sure. I can't remember if it's on Train Sim Community as well. And this was kind of Pennine Pacers, I think I'm right in saying, his first foray into route building, because after this was produced, he was then hired by Just Trains, and we ended up with Hope Valley and the Buxton line as well, which was very, very nice indeed. And I would really have loved to have put in the Just Trains Manchester Piccadilly as well. I did try, but it doesn't quite fit with the track work, so I've had to just use the standard Manchester Piccadilly. They're very powerful units, these, and you almost feel as though applying power that you're kind of having to not go into notch 4 because I think it goes to notch 4 because it's just a bit too much. And the Trans Pennine routes aren't the fastest. Very up and down as well, undulating. I think the only other thing I've changed as well is the weather. I've put in a kind of a more blue sky. There's the 68 and the Mark 5 stock, and that's what we'll be taking for the return journey. That's kind of a cheat really, because with it we're using the the 180 set, I think it is, when that's been reskinned, but it certainly looks the part, does the job. Now the other thing you might well point out as well is that the announcements that we're using are the default ones that came out with the pack. So for licensing reasons, ATS didn't use the original announcements. And I think it was Joe Dobson who recorded, well, I know it was Joe Dobson who recorded them. So there is mods out there where you can actually use the genuine announcements, I think, but I'm kind of always a bit worried myself about uploading videos where it hasn't been officially agreed on YouTube for the proper announcements to be used. So I suppose we should get some brakes on actually, because that was single yellow, so we must kind of make sure that in fact the next signal is clear. But I like the Joe Dobson announcements anyway, and it amazes me actually, having travelled on the real Trans Pennine services. I think he's got them spot on. And he's got such a friendly, amicable voice that I think it adds something to it. In actual fact, it sounds pretty close to the originals, I think, as well. Yeah, I did have that thing earlier on with the signal. That's probably my fault somewhere. There's probably something I should have installed or upgraded. But I kind of know, because I gave it a quick run to the first station. I know that it works, so we're all right. And I quite like the idea of this scenario. Oh, wait a sec.
Slough it. If you're leaving the train, take a moment to check you have everything with you. Don't forget any bags or cases in the luggage racks or under seats, and retain your tickets as they may be required when exiting this station. Thank you for travelling with Trans Pennine Express, and have a great onward journey.
Been a bit cautious here, coming up to the end point, aren't I?
This is a service to Manchester Piccadilly, calling at Marsden, Greenfield, Mosley, Staley Bridge, and Manchester Piccadilly.
There's something really fascinating, I think, about the Pennines and the network and the hills and everything else. It's very, very interesting. So although it's kind of an old route, but it's nice. So yeah, so as I was kind of saying as the announcements as we came into Slough, I just really wanted to do something that is genuinely sort of an end-to-end run, and you know, sort of doing, I mean, in theory you could do Liverpool to Newcastle, but I thought it might just be a bit too long for this particular video today. So I thought Huddersfield to Manchester Piccadilly and back kind of fits the bill. And nice the fact that we're going to Manchester Piccadilly and not Victoria, which is generally not like a terminus point. They're usually going on to Liverpool, or some of them actually go Manchester Victoria and then round the Ordsall curve to Manchester Piccadilly and then on to Manchester Airport as well. And I have to say, I only found out fairly recently about this Slough thing, because in all honesty I would have called it Slaithwaite, and I think the automated announcement at the station that we had at the start, I think that said Slaithwaite, but yeah, I think Joe Dobson's got it right in the Great Yorkshire sound to it, Slough-ate. I think that's great. Might as well keep it at about 70. because we're coming down to 70, and also we're coming into Marsden quite soon, and we got a 60 as well after the 70 marker, so we can start slowing down to 60 basically as soon as we go through the 70. That's slightly overdone it.
We will shortly be arriving at Marsden. If you're leaving the train, take a moment to check you have everything with you. Don't forget any bags or cases in the luggage racks or under seats, and retain your tickets as they may be required when exiting this station. Thank you for travelling with Trans Pennine Express, and have a great onward journey.
I love that bit as well at the end. Have a great onward journey. We very much as well, in terms of the signage, watching him a bit, again a bit too aggressive. The brakes on this thing quite sharp, but I love the fact that we have kind of the Yorkshire with the big M Metro sign, and then as we get towards Manchester we start getting northern signals, signage I should say.
This is a service to Manchester Piccadilly, calling at Greenfield, Mosley, Staley Bridge, and Manchester Piccadilly.
So again, it's an old route now, and it is freeware, but I say there's some nice touches. That being one of them, the station signs. I think when this came out, this kind of predates the Leeds, Huddersfield Leeds line. We're so used to pressing Q to cancel those out, but of course on this it's actually E. Of course Q will do the AWS. So we're 45. And then we go up to 85. We've got a pretty long tunnel coming up. Going to close my curtains actually, so you'll probably hear the creaking of the chair, just so as I can see the screen a bit better. It's nice to get the sun shining through the window after the cold week that we've had, but a bit too bright unfortunately. So as ever, thank you very much for your support, and if you're enjoying this particular video and you've not watched before, then or if you haven't done it, then please consider liking and subscribing. As ever, be tremendously grateful. We do a Train Sim World 6 live stream on the Sunday, and the reason I'm kind of doing Train Sim Classic at the moment has just been a bit of a lull. I mean, there's plenty of stuff coming out in 2026, but so far into the new year we've kind of got the debate about when the Class 805 stream is going to be as I'm recording this, but I think it was confirmed yesterday. I'll say yesterday, it's on the Saturday as I'm recording it. By the time you're watching this, we might actually have some more news, but it's confirmed that there was no definite date, but then another member of the Dovetail Games team actually announced that it probably would be next week. So again, this is all relative to as I'm recording, so if you're watching this a few weeks later, then you're probably thinking, what's he getting on about? It's been out for ages. But I think it's going to come out fairly soon. Might even be the same week as the stream, or I think it's going to be out in the next couple of weeks anyway, the 805. But we've got so much coming out in 2026, then I think we're all excited. We can't wait for the stuff that's due to come out. You really do get such weird speed restrictions on this Trans Pennine route. It's kind of got 60 halfway through the tunnel, and then coming out the tunnel we're very quickly 65. I remember being quite chuffed when this route came out, really, because it was a missing part of the network, and then it was kind of like just hoping that they would extend it to Leeds, and I thought probably Pennine Pacer might get there first, but it was DTG who did it, and then Pennine Pacer did the lovely Buxton route and the line to Sheffield as well. And I think I'm right in saying, again, those are two routes that just don't get announcements. So really could desperately do with an upgrade to the announcements. I mean, this pack is absolutely lovely, really does bring to life the 185, but we need the announcements extended. It's quite nice as well to do a stopping service, because I think some of these stations just you don't get a passing thought to when you're going through on a service from Piccadilly or Victoria to Leeds, and you're flying through these stations, so nice to see them in a little bit more detail. Couple of signs there that we'll have a look at when we come into the stop, because
we will shortly be arriving at Greenfield. If you're leaving the train, take a moment to check you have everything with you. Don't forget any bags or cases in the luggage racks or under seats, and retain your tickets as they may be required when exiting this station. Thank you for travelling with Trans Pennine Express, and have a great onward journey.
I honestly think they should recruit him to do the official announcements. Actually, I think he's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. We've got the doors open. I haven't, that's all right. Press the wrong button. There we go. Doors open.
This is a service to Manchester Piccadilly, calling at Mosley, Staley Bridge, and Manchester Piccadilly.
Yeah, so whilst we've got the chance, let's just have a quick look at something I want to just show you. So let's press the E button just in case it flashes up, but you'll know. Oh, got something coming through, have we? Oh, missed it. Sorry. Another 68. Oh, we're kind of following it anyway. But anybody will tell you that this part of the world very, very difficult to cross in snowy conditions, and they've had some snow in the last few weeks, so I love this detail here. So first of all, you've got the sign on the right for snow. Lights flashing, bad road conditions, prepare to stop 1 mile ahead, and literally the road will be barriered off and you can't go any further. And also adverts for Saddleworth Museum and Art Gallery, tourist information, Brownhill Countryside Centre, canal boat trips. See from the overhead view as well, and you really see the Pennines dominating the scene in the background. But I think this pack very nicely fills in a gap, and I know it's been out for a while, and you can buy it from Alan Thomson Simulation if you don't own it, but it was missing from the game for quite a while. I remember there was a kind of a substitute, I forget what train they used as the base. Was it the 360? Might have been. They kind of had a substitute 185 for a while, and then we had this proper one. Yes, it can get very, very bleak in the winter. And I mean, certainly one of the first motorways that you ever hear about being in trouble when there's snow around is the Trans Pennine motorway between Manchester and Leeds. Kind of one of the few really scenic motorway journeys as well, but kind of getting on the more local roads is interesting as well. You get the feeling of this part of Yorkshire and into Lancashire, and you'll know when we're in kind of Lancashire area when we start getting the northern signs at the stations.
We will shortly be arriving at Mosley. If you're leaving the train, take a moment to check you have everything with you. Don't forget any bags or cases in the luggage racks or under seats, and retain your tickets as they may be required when exiting this station. Thank you for travelling with Trans Pennine Express, and have a great onward journey.
We will, Joe. We will.
This is a service to Manchester Piccadilly, calling at Staley Bridge and Manchester Piccadilly.
Yeah, so you can see the colouring suddenly different. It's blue. I must confess I didn't actually check with Greenfield in that respect, but yeah, we're definitely into into Northern Territory here. And actually you've got the transport for Greater Manchester as well. And at Staley Bridge you could literally change trains and go on to Manchester Victoria because the junction's not long after the station. And I think there's a famous pub there as well, which is renowned for real ale, and I think it might have been featured on the Hairy Bikers a few years back, but it's sort of, if you read any articles or books or websites about real ale train journeys, then I think Staley Bridge would be fairly well up. Great feat of engineering you always feel, these Trans Pennine routes. Kind of, I mean, it's pretty much a very scenic view, but on the other hand there's quite a lot of houses, and I love when you kind of get those sneak peeks of sort of houses and streets as you're racing by, and factories and industry and things going on. You get a little bit of a fleeting glimpse of life. We are on a downhill gradient and fairly sharp as well, 1 in 125, so you can certainly feel with power off and no brakes that we are increasing speed immediately. Get a bit more life here.
We will shortly be arriving at Staley Bridge. If you're leaving the train, take a moment to check you have everything with you. Don't forget any bags or cases in the luggage racks or under seats, and retain your tickets as they may be required when exiting this station. Thank you for travelling with Trans Pennine Express, and have a great onward journey.
Little bay platform there in the middle as well for shuttle services that kind of terminate at Staley Bridge. I've no idea if that's a thing or not nowadays. Oh, I didn't mean to go into emergency. Sorry, folks.
This is a service to Manchester Piccadilly. Calling at Manchester Piccadilly.
I knew I'd forget to press some button somewhere. I play Train Sim Classic so infrequently that I'm naturally pressing buttons that I press on Train Sim World. Good advertising and stuff as well, but love that. You've got the actually Staley Bridge Station, buffet bar, established in 1885. You've got the the clock, which, okay, how often have you seen station clocks that are broke? But yeah, nice custom build of the station. And actually the time might be right, to be fair. I was thinking it was like a static clock face or something, but no, I think we're okay. So I think, have we shut the doors? Yeah, the guard has. So we must have been given from the guard whilst we were away. Right, so this is where, probably because of the emergency stop or the emergency brake coming on briefly. So if you kind of set emergency and then come down, then you'll see immediately the brake pipe coming off. So we should be all right after that. So I think if we were taking the route to Manchester Piccadilly, we'd be diving away on that point to the right. But we are kind of veering towards the left and heading towards Manchester Piccadilly. Of course, not a million miles between the two stations in reality. You know, I've seen that 40 as well. It's amazing, the concentration wise, just what you have to think about as a train driver. And okay, I know if you were driving the train in reality, you wouldn't be going out to an outside view. You would be able to concentrate on the matter in hand, but sometimes it's just nice to see just how well the scenery and the outside of the train's been modelled, really. So this is still very much diesel territory. Now, of course, it's worth saying as well, I mean, this route's set from a few years back now, but there is overhead line equipment going up, and the plan will be, I don't know when it's scheduled to be operational, but there is going to be electric services in the not too distant future between Manchester and Leeds. Now we'll get overhead line stuff coming in when we rejoin the Woodhead line, which of course nowadays goes between Piccadilly and Hadfield and Glossop. So we'll be joining that fairly soon. You can see the speed limit coming down to 25, and in fact there's a few gantries here without any wires. And we're coming towards Guy Bridge. Now Guy Bridge is a shadow of its former self. If you look at some of the old photos and the videos of the area, and if you look at the old original Manchester London Road, or you know, Piccadilly, that was its old name, to Sheffield Victoria route on Train Sim Classic, then you just get a feeling for what it used to be like in and around Guy Bridge. Now it's just almost a tiny little station on the suburbs, but it had a number of platforms for a start. So if you've not got it, if you're a fan of Trans Pennine routes, then there's this, which is kind of freeware, one or two requirements, but there is obviously the Huddersfield line, Manchester Victoria to Leeds, and the Just Trains Midlands Main Line, so you can go Manchester Piccadilly to Sheffield, and you can do it two ways as well. You can either go via Stockport, or you could take it on, this is Guide Bridge, or you can go kind of a slightly more direct way. I think it's like New Mills, isn't it? We're under the wires now, so the 323s are very much in use along here for the run from Piccadilly to Hadfield and Gloucester. Actually, we can get a bit of speed up, can't we? We're up to 60. Pacer, I love that, the graffiti there. Pennine Pacer, the creator of this route. I mean, I just substituted the actual 158 as well, because the original one that was selected didn't have the announcements coming in, so I really wanted to have the announcements. I know we've had the debate on Trades of World about the fact that the driver doesn't actually in real life always hear the announcements, but I don't know, just like it just feels somehow that bit more immersive. You feel part of a real service. I don't know whether we're going to get held up on the approach to Piccadilly. Wouldn't be the first time it's happened, and I'm sure it's happened to you many times in real life. A lot of people have been saying that they would like a modern version of Northern Trans Pennine on Trade Sim World as well. We've got the 1980s version, which is very nice, from Victoria to Leeds, but my goodness, it's changed a lot since those days. I can't remember this thing about Ashbury's coming up. But I've got a feeling that there's no actual place called Ashbury's, and I've forgotten the reason behind why the station's called Ashbury's. Is it the depot or something, or the junction? I can't remember. I think we've got the depot coming in on the right as well at Ardwick. And if you do want to do or drive the section between Piccadilly and Victoria via the Ordsall curve, then you need the ATS Chat Moss route. You do that, but then you would then need to load in the Huddersfield route to take it onto Leeds. Now this is this station at Ardwick's. Yeah, we're okay. We're double yellow, aren't we? This station at Ardwick's interesting as well. We were looking this up earlier on because I was saying it's very, very rarely used. I think there's literally just one weekday service, Monday to Friday, and that's about your lot. I think they have to have some sort of, to keep the station open, I think sort of parliamentary and all that reasons why, I think they have to have at least an occasional service. A bit like that interesting line on out of Stockport. If you go to Denton, I think it is, via Heaton Norwich Junction, I think there's literally one train a week on a Saturday. They have to run it though, and that's the only way they can agree to keep the line open, or the station's open anyway, because I think it might be used for the occasional freight service, possibly. So we've got single yellow, but we had got the one marker on, so we do know that we are signalled into platform 1. So very nice scenario this, really enjoyed this run.
At Manchester Piccadilly, where this service terminates. If you're leaving the train, take a moment to check you have everything with you. Don't forget any bags or cases in the luggage racks or under seats, and retain your tickets as they may be required when exiting this station. Thank you for travelling with Trans Pennine Express, and have a great onward journey.
If you're wondering what that noise was there, that squeak, that was nothing to do with the train game. That was my telly about to turn itself off. So I'd love to have included the Just Trains model of Manchester Piccadilly, because it's infinitely superior, very, very detailed actually, but sadly it doesn't quite fit. And I suppose you could probably relay the track and do it, but that's kind of probably quite a lot of work. There might be a way of slightly rescaling it or reshaping it and getting it to fit, but I did have a quick try and gave up a couple of nights ago. So we should get ourselves into neutral, shouldn't we? You know, where are we? Perhaps you can't. Do you have to put it into? Perhaps you have to put full service to your. Or yeah, there we go. Off. We'll put the DSD on. And we should really switch it, our tail lights on as well. I didn't mean to do that. We could probably knock the AWS off. This light. I can't remember where the tail lights are on this thing, but anyway, not to worry, we'll let the next driver pick up responsibility for that. So I'm guessing because it says incomplete, we must have been a tad on the late side. So that's part one, and we'll move on to part two. So we will have a look at the Class 68. The Class 68 still seem to me to be a very recent addition to the UK railway network, but in reality they have been in operation for some 11 years now, for use on both freight and passenger services. They are used on the Chiltern Main Line between Birmingham Moor Street and London Marylebone, and it was in this mode, complete with Mark III carriages, that you can see here from 2025. The carriages will soon be replaced by Mark V stock. For a short time, they were used by Trans Pennine Express, and we'll take on one from a run from Manchester Piccadilly to Huddersfield. They were withdrawn by TPE a couple of years ago now, aimed at simplifying operations, reliability, and apparently noise complaints. Seemed a great shame to me, but at least we can relive this period in Train Sim Classic. Okay, so I'm loading the game up again for the second run, because I always like to do that, and you probably know if you watch me on the live streams that I get a little bit obsessed about worrying about the game dumping on you, and Train Sim Classic can do it as well as Train Sim World, so we'll load it in as fresh, as it were. So this is 2E65 Manchester Piccadilly to Huddersfield. We're in the Class 68 Trans Pennine Express stop. Driver Nova 3 on a stopping service between Piccadilly and Huddersfield. So we won't get the announcements this time, but it's a reverse journey, but a different loco. I thought if we kind of did this back to back with the 185, it might be a little bit tedious. We'll ignore the blurred textures there slightly. I say it's a shame we can't use the Just Trains Manchester Piccadilly model. But look at that, that's a lovely sight, isn't it? This is the 68 that came with the ScotRail units for, I can't remember where it was from now, certainly at Edinburgh Waverley, with some not great Mark II carriages, but this is the with the sound pack from Armstrong Powerhouse and the kind of improved textures and everything else. It looks mighty magnificent. Well, let's get this train set up. Get a few lights on and cab, but I don't think the GSMR works on here. Oh. I think we've got a Pendolino coming in. The only thing I did substitute out, there was 168s, but they were the TPE South. It might be heading out actually, that Virgin train Pendolino, but good to see you've got, these are the original Metro units, but we have got the Metro lines going in as well. I mean, the station actually on the TSW model is represented, but seems to be a police car, ambulance, fire engine, something going on. Of all the display there as well, it all looks very quite high tech, doesn't it? Oh, we must get the DSD off as well. There we go. And we've got a Northern Train. I think it's a 150 coming in. I think we're basically stopping at the same stations. Ah, we've got a 185 coming in on the outside platforms. And a 150 coming in as well. Quite a busy scene. You can see 323 in the platform as well. And of course, Piccadilly's always busy. Ah, it's got a 142 pacer on the back as well. Probably speeding already. Oh, we're not. We're okay, just about. Got another 185 coming in as well. So I'm guessing the one on the outside is probably a Liverpool Lime Street going through. Or it might be one, again, going via Victoria. And that one's obviously terminating at Piccadilly. And the Network Rail building in the background, that's a custom model. Yeah, definitely something gone off in and around Manchester. So, a few bits and pieces in the depot there as well. A 323, another 185. And as I said at the little intro, unfortunately, these trains are no longer used by Trans Pennine either. It was a very short-lived relationship. There was something about noise complaints at Scarborough, and again, I've not read into it massively, but they had what was it, reliability problems, I think they said, and I think they just felt overall they were just a bit too expensive to operate. Now, the footage I showed you at the start of this run in the 68 at Birmingham Moor Street, that was after I just got off it. It was, I'd come from Marylebone, and I kind of did that specially because I fancied a run on the behind the 68. Very much enjoyed the run. I mean, again, it's not the fastest of journeys between Marylebone and Birmingham, but it was kind of nice for a change. And that was in the Mark III carriages, but this year the Mark Vs will come into being, and we've already seen pictures of them. I don't know exactly when they're going to go into service. I don't think they're in service yet. Bear in mind that we have some absolutely lovely Mark Vs modelled for the Caledonian sleeper ones for Train Sim Classic, and again well worth looking at. I feel as though I've not given them much of a, or enough of a run really. But these aren't even official Mark 5, so a nice little substitution that was done certainly looks the part. So I'm hoping with this little lull between stuff coming out for Train Sim World, then it'd be quite nice to revert back to Train Sim Classic sometimes. And as you'll know, again, if you've watched many of my videos before, I moan about just how much time it takes loading stock in. And I mean, I think somebody I was reading the other day was saying, but you get a lot more variety with the stock in Train Sim World, but it's kind of like in Train Sim Classic, but it's kind of not the case now. And there's obviously a lot of layers on Train Sim World now. And the beauty is, if you've got the layers, then you've got a whole timetable to look at. Whereas with Train Sim Classic, you can spend a whole evening just loading in stock for a particular scenario, and there's bound to be a piece of stock that you either haven't got, or you just and sometimes you'll find it's just a static item in a yard. I mean, luckily the game will pretty much play without them, but I mean, the 142 is an example because I actually use TS tools or RW tools to replace the pacer, because I have the original Armstrong Powerhouse pacer, but not the new one. And I contemplated buying it in the sale at Christmas, but I didn't end up getting it. Takes a bit of getting the hang of this, does actually, because you've got a brake, and you've also got one with the sort of the throttle as well. Well, I'm going to be caught for 25 here, aren't I? Oh no, we're not. No, we are 30, aren't we, round the corner? We're okay. But yeah, that's kind of your power controller. So you've got some braking on there, but you've also got a separate brake as well. Bear in mind, these are very much freight locomotives, then you can kind of understand it. There. So this is a scenario that came with the pack, and as I say, just made a couple of substitutions because it's a very, very old scenario that was created. So it was using the TP South Jake Fuller 185, which was the substitute. So I thought we might as well change those. And I always worry when I do that, will the scenario still work at the end of it? But it did without any issue. Once again, once we get past Staley Bridge, then we'll be very much out into the countryside again, into the heart of the Pennines. Oh, I've missed something there, haven't I? I think. Oh, or have I? No, no, it's just the diesel engine hissing. I thought we got a brake issue there. But strangely, we've got 50, but the station is less than a mile away. I've also got, by the way, I've got the Armstrong Powerhouse cloud cloud pack installed. Yeah, I'd already got the weather pack, bought it ages ago, but I did pick up the weather pack at Christmas, and hope it gives you a better view of it. I think somebody said the last time I did a Train Sim Classic scenario it was a little bit shimmery, and it kind of is, but that might just be the settings that I've got, or the way I've set up the lighting, maybe. I mean, apart from Scarborough, you can pretty much do the whole of the Trans Pennine network on Train Sim Classic. Get that on as well. Kind of hoping me braking on this is improved, because it's fairly similar to the brakes on the Class 66, and I used to be hopeless at driving the Class 66 at one time, but I have plenty of practice now on TSW. There's another one. That's a Liverpool to Edinburgh, apparently. That's an interesting service. I wonder if that one still exists. That must go up the East Coast Main Line at some point. Must go Leeds, then York. Again, it takes a while for the brakes just to release properly, so we'll do that first. We've still got single yellow as well, so we have to be conscious of that. In theory, the next signal could be red, so we have to be a little bit wary. And I know I've heard from one or two real drivers, and you know, people say this can't be realistic. How can it be so dark going through the tunnel? But I've certainly heard from real drivers on videos where they've said that actually tunnel areas are very, very dark indeed. Must be a little air vent there. That's quite good to see. You can see that little glimpse of the track for a moment. Either that or I've not got the lights set up properly. which wouldn't surprise me. Wouldn't be the first time. So I'm not going to go full zilch at this next signal. Not that full zilch is a word, but you know what I mean, because in theory we don't know whether this could be a red. And it's kind of keeping us guessing because it's just around this corner as well. I mean, I would imagine it'll be okay. It is. Probably could have risked there and gone full power. If you can hear any barking in the background, it's my West Highland White Terrier. I think he's barking because my sister's probably arrived, but my brother will see to that. I'll say hello to him when we get to the end of the journey. I really do love the... He's getting a bit louder now. I really do love these modern locomotives, I have to say. Very different than driving an older train, a 47 or... you know, a Peak or a you know, something like that. Class 50, 31 or 20. Yes, it's very much a scene that I remember so much travelling on the through the Pennines with these you know, those sort of buildings alongside the track. So we're coming in towards Mossley. They do need a little bit of working out, but I think we're okay. We should work it out. Yeah, that sort of the reverser on the accelerator handle works quite nicely. So I think although a lot of this is kind of like default buildings, they've done some tremendous work to capture the feel of the area at this particular part of the Pennines. You can see in the distance the more kind of rugged style hills, but you know, also very, very residential area as well. So again, let's take off those brakes. You can see that third gauge there just dropping down to 0. And again, probably if you're an experienced driver, you'd probably take off some of the brakes and apply a bit of power, and then you wouldn't have the slight rollback that we experienced there. So you probably got yourself familiar with the stations. I mean, you might be anyway already, but Greenfield, Marsden, Slowate and Huddersfield. No problem getting the speed up. But you're always going to have that situation driving on these shortish platforms that just getting it stopped in the right place on the platform takes a little bit of work. And again, it would be no issue for an experienced driver. Good thing is I don't think we've got any timings on this one, so providing we effectively complete all the station stops, which is not a guarantee for power flow trains and planes, but providing we do, then we should be alright. So again, we'll do that, and then we'll put some brakes on ready. I mean, there is of course a Chiltern main line route as well from Just Trains, but I think they would be the first to admit that it's a very, very old release and a little bit lacking now in terms of the quality of current releases. It's also very laggy because I've not tried the very, very latest patch, but it used to be an absolutely massive frame rate spike you would get, particularly out of London, and it was because there was kind of millions of trees laid and then loads of distant buildings that have been laid really haphazardly. So we're going to go slightly past it here, but we'll be alright. That's okay, I think. Remembering that the loco is out at the front. I mean, even then, we've only, to be honest, that would be probably be authentic practice, because that's the carriage at the back. Yeah, we've got a slight bit of issues there, but very difficult sometimes with the terrain and Train Sim Classic, to be fair. So I didn't check going, did I, actually? But yeah, we're in Northern Territory at Greenfield, and I know Marston's in Yorkshire, so I don't know exactly at what point we cross the boundary, but it can't be too far off, I suspect. The Battle of the Roses, Lancashire against Yorkshire. That's those two sides that we showed earlier on. If you're not from the area, in snowy conditions, you hear the weather forecast, and it's very often an area that is completely cut off in terms of the road network. Right, so that's something else we've got to consider. That was a single yellow. So we don't know what's happening now with the next signal is 0.67 of a mile. I mean, you're never totally sure with Train Sim Classic. It might just be a bodged signal, and we might it might be stuck on red, and we might get the go ahead, but don't really know yet. But we can't take any chances. We have to get the brakes on, make sure that we are able to stop in time for that signal, just in case. You see the canals and the lock network as well on the left. That looks like a pretty difficult sequence to deal with if you're on a narrowboat. So it's probably behind this post. Can't see the signal yet still. Yeah, it looks like a red to me. So we will bring the train to a stop anyway. And then we'll ask the signalman whether we have permission to carry on. We'll see what he says. Approved. So it might just be a broken signal. Dog yapping, and talk about our dog yapping in the background. It sounds like there's one on the game here. Or is it supposed to be ducks? Maybe it might be ducks in the water. Okay, well, we'll take we'll assume then that they say we're approved, that we're okay. You're never quite sure with Train Sim Classic, because sometimes you can get the approval and then find actually that your path over the next point is blocked. So hopefully we'll get a view with the next signal. So probably not a good idea to go storming away too much. Centre the player. Right, there are greens up ahead, so that's kind of looking good. Yeah, it's green, isn't it? So, yeah, we're all right. He's certainly not going to win any prizes for the speed on these journeys. It's not the fastest of journeys, end to end. Kind of a slow, relaxing trundle, I think it'd be fair to say. Oh, we didn't see what that was, did we? Was that a 185? Difficult to see in the dark, but this is the... I think it's probably the longest tunnel on the route, and I should know what it's called, but I can't remember. Now we've got a bit of speed up as well. Technically up to 85, although in all fairness, it won't be too far off before, or too long before we're stopping at Marston. least the draw distance isn't too bad. We can see the very far end of the tunnel. It's a bit disconcerting. I mean, sometimes on TSW, no, wait a minute, no, it's still doing it. It's kind of like the light at the end of the tunnel, but just keeps getting farther away. There's got to be a parallel somewhere in life to that. But I think it's literally the case that we've actually got to be conscious that the station isn't too far off. So we've kind of got two warnings there, one for the 45 speed restriction reduction, and also another one for the fact that it's double yellow. Perhaps been a bit too quick to get down to 30 maybe. Back out into daylight, and then suddenly you get quite a wide expanse coming towards Marsden, because there's something like 4 tracks, isn't there? Or is it 3? There's the single yellow, but the platform is just is before that. So we're cleared into platform 1. I think we're going to emergency stop there. I don't know what happened there. What did I do wrong there? Was it we were considered to be going too fast approaching this red signal? It's going to bring us to a stop anyway, and annoying when this happens. Maybe I was going too fast for the approaching red signal, and the TPWS might have caught me. Now we're struggling to stop before the signal. Should be alright. We should be alright. We should be okay. We are okay. Just. Is that stopping at Marsden? No. Yeah, you kind of assume that used to be an additional track. I think it used to be 4 track. Probably if we do the Northern Trans Pennine for TSW, you probably find, there we go, we've got a approved again, so hopefully that's correct. Perhaps I needed to reinstall the Armstrong Powerhouse signal pack, enhancement pack. As I say, in case you watch this and you've skipped through bits of it, but hope you've enjoyed the video, and if you consider liking and subscribing, I'd be tremendously grateful. The live streams take place Sunday 5 p.m. TSW6, and we do about 4 hours of Trade Sim World 6 action. Try and do as much variety, and we'll look at the new stuff as and when it comes out, look at the mods that come out for the PC on Trade Sim community website as well. We're just in that funny little situation as I'm recording this in January. As I say, just a bit of a lull. There's not too much going on, but there's plenty to come out. We've got the 805 coming out soon, hopefully in the next couple of weeks. We know that the Great Western Express remaster is going to finally get an airing. We got the trailer for that before Christmas, and that's, I'm sure that was talked about way before even TSW5 was a thing, so it'll be long. It's been long awaited. We've got things like the Trent Valley route coming out as well, with Crew to Rugby, so we'll do much longer West Coast Main Line runs. And probably before that, and probably not too far off, hopefully, is Crew Preston as well from Just Trades, which will be exciting. Right, so again, it's constant battling with the brakes. Probably really should take this down a little bit, and you can see what brake pressure we're actually applying. Once I kind of get to about 30, I feel reasonably happy that we're going to make it. We've got a staggered platform as well, so the eastbound platform is just literally just beyond. No markers really to guide us there, but we'll assume that that's about it, just a bit beyond. So how are we doing there? Again, it's one of those things you don't really know. Well, we're struggling with the back carriage, but it's possible because of short platforms that we might not have been able to fit the whole train in. That's the inside view, by the way. And the funny thing is, I mean, the 180 pack built for the East Coast Main Line, I've probably never played on. So the final bit towards Huddersfield, just under 4 miles now. So it takes a little bit of getting used to the handling in terms of the brakes, but it's doable as you've seen. And again, sometimes just having something that takes a bit of thinking about is never a bad thing. I think it's interesting to have things that are a bit more challenging than your conventional stuff. So we've got a 70 and a 60, so we're kind of earmarking the fact that we are coming towards the last stage of the journey into Huddersfield. Of course, nowadays, if you're getting on the Trans Pennine, then you're more likely to be going on an 802. Is it 802 that they use? Not 805. No, 805's the Avanti ones, isn't it? So, yeah, an 802, which do the core Liverpool to Newcastle services. Of course, they operate this section in diesel mode, but once they get to York, they go into electric mode for the section up to Newcastle. And I think I was saying a bit earlier, but you could do a lot of the, again slightly to speed, you could do a lot of the Trans Pennine network in the game now. The one exception to that being the Scarborough line. Nobody has ever modelled York to Scarborough in either Train Sim Classic or Train Sim World, not even in Microsoft Train Simulator as far as I can recall. I think there's some sort of Steam workshop for Train Sim Classic of York to Scarborough, but you've kind of got track, no scenery, and it's not even got the kind of the embankments and the cuttings modelled in, so would need a heck of a lot of work to bring it up to a really interesting drivable standard. I don't actually know if these 68s were used on these kind of shuttle services between Piccadilly and Huddersfield. I presume they were. I'm sure some of you will be able to tell in the comments. So I hope you've enjoyed the video, the two runs, the 185 and the 68. And we've kind of given a bit of a full run, haven't we, from Huddersfield to Manchester Piccadilly and back. At some point in the future, you'll be able to do these runs in electric. So always worth seeing what stocks in around. Station's quite nicely done as well. We didn't get to really see that going, but you can see quite a grand, distinguished looking station entrance. And then we've got a couple of 150s waiting there as well. And again, just finally, just a little closer look at the reskin, because it's very, very nicely done. Really nice model in itself and captures it nicely, but the Armstrong Powerhouse enhancement pack makes the sounds much infinitely better to drive. So anyway, hope you've enjoyed the video, and I'll say sorry about that, folks. If you if you would consider liking and subscribing, if you haven't done so before, then I'd be greatly appreciated. And massive thanks to all the support in the channel that I've received over the last couple of years. Really kind of you, really appreciated. And we do the live streams Sunday at 5 PM and we can have a bit of a good old chat. And you can put your comments in. You could do the same runs if you like, if you have the same routes of the DLC on TSW, and it's quite interesting to let us know your score, and we can compare. I'm usually somewhere near the bottom, but we won't talk about that too much. But thank you very much, and until next time, from Power Flower Trains and Planes, it is goodbye.